All right, let's dive into a pretty radical idea today. What if we could actually rebuild our democratic systems from the ground up? And what if we use technology to lock in total accountability and, maybe more importantly, create absolute finality in our elections? It's a huge topic, so let's get right into it.
Just let that sink in for a second. So much of our world, our society, is built on trusting institutions, trusting the people in charge, trusting processes we can't even see. But what if we didn't have to? What if the system itself could mathematically guarantee that everything was fair and secure? Leaving no room for doubt.
And this is really the core idea. We'd basically be swapping out our reliance on human institutions, which, let's be honest, can have errors and biases, for something much more solid. Cryptography gives us cold, hard, mathematical proof. Algorithms, kind of like robot lawyers, act as perfectly impartial judges. And the end result? Well, the power, theoretically, shifts right back to the citizens.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with this idea of a new social contract. Then we'll look at how a system like this could enforce accountability and honesty. After that, we'll get into the power of an unchangeable vote. And finally, we'll tie it all together and see what it actually means to rebuild democracy in code.
So that brings us to our first big idea. We're talking about a massive shift in how we think about democracy. Instead of just being told, hey, trust us, the system works, every single citizen is actually given the tools to check the work for themselves, to verify that every single step of the process is on the level.
And when you put them side by side, the contrast is pretty staggering, right? On one side, you've got the old model, trusting institutions, closed-door processes, and these single points of failure. On the other side, you have a proposed solution where everything is built on cryptographic proof, all the rules are out in the open for anyone to check, and security comes from decentralized math, not some central authority.
Okay, so that's the theory, but how does this actually work in the real world? Let's look at one of the most critical parts of any election, vetting the people who want to lead us. Instead of this being some backroom process, this system drags candidate accountability right out into the open for everyone to see and to participate in.
So here's the workflow. A candidate uploads their credentials. A formal authority checks them out, privately. That's the off-chain part. But then, and this is the key, an unchangeable verification flag gets published on-chain, on that public, transparent ledger. And that's when the community gets involved. Any voter can look at that flag and publicly submit challenges as long as they have evidence. It becomes a totally community-driven process.
I mean, the difference is night and day. You go from a closed-door process run by a handful of people on a committee to a transparent one that's driven by the entire community. The records go from being hidden in private files to being on a public, unchangeable ledger. And maybe most importantly, you're no longer being asked to just trust a decision. You are empowered to verify the entire process yourself.
Okay, but you're probably thinking, if you give everyone the power to challenge candidates, what stops people from just making stuff up to sabotage a campaign? Well, the system has an answer for that. And it isn't a human moderator, it's automated code. And this is absolutely crucial. The freedom to hold people accountable comes with some serious responsibility. This system is designed to encourage genuine, good-faith challenges while making it very unattractive to act maliciously. And here's how it does it, something called penalty logic. So instead of a committee getting together to decide on a punishment, this system smart contract automatically enforces a penalty if a claim is proven to be false. There's no human bias, no intervention, just code.
So what's the penalty? It's not a slap on the wrist. We're talking about a suspension from voting for three full election cycles. The stakes are incredibly high. If you make a malicious claim and you're proven wrong, you lose your voice in the democratic process for a long, long time. This is designed to make sure that power is used responsibly.
All right, so let's shift gears and talk about what happens after the votes are in. This is where the idea of finality becomes the absolute bedrock of the system's legitimacy. It's the simple but powerful idea that once a decision is made, it is done. It's irreversible.
So in this system, finality means that after the election, the result is digitally signed and permanently carved into the blockchain. It becomes a final, unchangeable part of history. You can't alter it, you can't delete it, and you can't challenge it after the fact.
And this is why it matters so much. Think about it. Traditional election results, they can be pretty fragile. They can face recounts, court challenges, votes can be lost. In this blockchain model, though, the result is mathematically secure. It's basically immune to tampering, and it exists beyond the reach of any person or institution that might want to change it. Your trust shifts from fallible people to impartial math.
And there's a really deep philosophy behind this.
This system is designed to honor the will of the people, period, even if they make what looks like a terrible choice. It doesn't allow some authority to step in and protect citizens from their own decisions. Instead, it forces citizens to own their choices and places the responsibility squarely on their shoulders to fix any mistakes in the next election.
So when you put all these pieces together, the public accountability, the automated penalties, and this irreversible finality, what you end up with is something that looks radically different from what we have now. It's really, truly democracy rebuilt from its foundation, in code.
So what's the first big takeaway? We're shifting from a world where we're just asked to blindly trust the process to a new world where we can personally verify every single step.
The second huge shift, we're moving away from relying on human institutions with all their flaws and vulnerabilities, and we're starting to rely on transparent, automated, and impartial code.
And finally, the whole point of all of this. By making the system transparent, verifiable, and secure, you are, fundamentally, returning sovereign power back to the people.
So let's just quickly recap the core principles here. Your digital identity and your vote are yours and yours alone. The rules of the game are open for everyone to see. Accountability is permanent and built right in. Vetting candidates becomes a public project, not a private one. And the results, they are absolute and final.
This system we've talked about is just one possible answer to that question. It points to a future where democracy isn't defined by trust in other people, but by the mathematical certainty of code. And it leaves us all to wonder, as we start designing our digital future, what other rules might we choose to write? Thanks for tuning in.